Vedic, or yoga, or spiritual wisdom if you prefer, teaches us that our identities are not a color. In fact, it teaches us that our true identities are not our bodies at all. It is said that the more we cultivate wisdom such as this, the more we can gradually come to experience a level of peace, happiness, and overall unity that is very rare in these chaotic times we are currently living in. I thought it would be nice to bring in an expert in the field of yogic or Vedic wisdom to talk with us a little bit about the subject. And so our guest today will be Japa. He began his spiritual journey at a very young age, living in an ashram for many, many years, studying the process of bhakti and mantra meditation under the guidance of his spiritual teacher, Jagad Guru, who is a master in a long line of masters dating back to ancient times. Japa eventually became what is known as an initiated disciple of his spiritual teacher, and now he himself is a teacher, a Brahmin, and has been teaching Vedic wisdom and inspiring many people for many years now. So without further ado, let's have a chat with Japa. All right, well, namaste, Japa. Thank you so much for coming today.
Namaste, Jason. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. I know that there are a lot of people who are suffering because they don't know who they are, and they're having a very hard time figuring that out. And so they feel like this sense of purposelessness, and it's very depressing and frustrating, I know, for a lot of people. In fact, there's been some studies that apparently are showing the current generation, like Generation Z, and even some millennials, which is my generation, are some of the loneliest people and some of the most lost people in terms of feeling they have a purpose in life. So in connection with that, my first question to you would be, do you think that it's a lack of self-realization that is at least partly responsible for these issues we are experiencing?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, you've used the word self-realization, which is a very specialized word referring to really deep understanding of the nature of the self and the nature of God. But in short answer to that, yes, because of false identification with the body. Most people in the world, they do identify with the body. But in reality, we're not this physical body, we're spirit, soul. And there's just a whole long explanation for this if people want to really get deep into it. But what we need to understand is that because we're spirit, soul, we're not being able to address the need of the soul. The whole material world we live in is just focused on trying to satisfy the body. But the problem is we're not the body, and you cannot satisfy the infinite desire of the soul by the finite world. And so there's a need for that understanding, like you said, self-realization, to actually know, okay, I am the soul, I have my needs, my body has my needs, and I have to make a distinction between those two. Without doing that, then definitely we're going to be lost. Definitely we're going to be angry, frustrated, and no amount of sense gratification would satisfy the self. Because the self which you're referring to now is you're referring to your false self, which is the labels, your body. So there's a need for a person to actually come to understand who he is. So we must question, who am I? And by at least starting that journey of question, we would come to that understanding and come to realize and be able to fulfill the need of that soul, the need of the person, your need, vis-a-vis just the need of the body.
So what can a person do if they want to come to this type of enlightenment or realization?
There's a process. Yeah, there is definitely an ancient process called mantra meditation. It's really a process for enlightenment or self-realization, wherein a person sits in silence and practices meditation on mantras. And these mantras are, of course, they're not for sale. You cannot sell a mantra. These mantras are coming down from a long line of spiritual teachers. And mantras are actually spiritual, transcendental names of the Supreme Person. And it has a purifying effect because the names of God are none different from God. God is all purifying. So his names as well are all purifying. So when a person engages in the hearing, constantly hearing of the names of God through the process of meditation, then he purifies himself, because the soul right now is in some form of amnesia, or what you call like a disease. A material disease of the soul is that is in ignorance, thinking that he's the material body. He thinks that material things will make him happy. He believes this is his home. He believes he's African American. These are all based upon the ignorance of the soul. So to enlighten the soul, there's a need for the soul to be purified. The thing is, you cannot soap and wash and brush the soul. Not like how you clean or bathe your body. The soul needs to be cleansed as well on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And you do that cleansing by the process of the chanting of the holy names of the Supreme Person. So that is the bathing of the soul. That is the nourishment of the soul that needs to be done. And it's a process that you could learn.
So the process of mantra meditation can help us to overcome the labels. It can help us overcome the identification with our body or the color of our body.
Yeah, because the mantra, the first thing the mantra would, it cleanses the heart of the person, and the person would begin to actually realize or understand who he is as spirit soul and his relationship with every living entity, especially his relationship with the Supreme. And in that understanding, he begins to see what's reality, and he would not be acting upon this hedonistic way of life when he just tries to exploit everyone for his so-called happiness, which is not really achieved in any material form, in any material field. So there's a need for... In fact, there is a famous... there's this book. I don't know if you've read this book, Small is Beautiful. It's written by a great economist. His name is Schumacher. And in that book, he said that good economy is when people try to differentiate between the needs of the body and the need of the soul. Because he said that the need of the soul is infinite. And we're living in a finite world. So one soul, this whole planet is not even enough. And that's why you have this greed, which is really, this greed is coming from the soul's need to be satisfied. And if it's trying to be reflected into the world, it's greediness, because it's insatiable. Lust is insatiable. Lust is just a perverted perversion of the real love of the soul, the real love for the love of the soul for the Supreme. So there's really a need for making that differentiation, and so the process of meditation purifies that disease of the soul. What is that disease? It's that it's become forgetful of who he is. So mantra meditation makes the soul remember by the process of purification of his karma, his past sinful activity that covers his vision. That's why the word in yoga is always used. People are so often using the word enlightenment. To be enlightened means what? That you're enlightened of your ignorance. And what is this ignorance? Ignorance about the self, ignorance about the universe, ignorance about God. This is the disease we have. So self-realization or meditation is actually a process of enlightenment, if you want to use that word. It's a process of revelation. It's a process of understanding, knowing the truth. We call it in so many different names. Samadhi, so many, the achievement of bodhisattva, achievement of this enlightenment, blissful state. Why is that? Because you become free from the illusion of, Maya. Maya means illusion, the illusory energy. You become free of that illusion by the simple process of hearing and chanting. So this process of meditation has actually been recommended in Kali Yuga. by an incarnation of God who appeared 600, 500 years ago by the name of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya introduced this process, simple process of meditation, because in Kali, the age we're in, age of wars, chaos, and confusion, that's the characteristics of this age, that people would even argue whether this is Kali Yuga or not. It's a fact that we're in Kali Yuga. Life is short, our memory is short, and people are no longer really interested in philosophy or self-realization. We're not really very much interested in religion or God. So the Lord Chaitanya, who is an incarnation of God, made the process for achieving self-realization very simple, is by chanting the holy names. And you'll find this in all the scripture in the Puranas. It says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Anasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gati Aranyata. Chant the holy names, chant the holy names, chant the holy names. It's the only way, it's the only way, it's the only way. Emphasize 3 times. In this age of Kali Yuga, the only form of self-realization or God-realization is through the process of hearing and chanting God's names. So this is the process that we do recommend, coming from the line of spiritual teachers, and we teach this. I'm a yoga meditation teacher as well. We teach this meditation as it's been taught by our spiritual master. And this is really the process. The rest would just come. My first recommendation to students is that you want to know the truth, take up this mantra. You chant. And just by chanting, the effect of the mantra, you'll immediately feel